Very happy to have this talented broadcaster make a return visit to Philly Pressbox Radio. You know her from NBC Sports Philadelphia. It's Amy Fadool. Amy, welcome back.
Chet, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Hey, first thing, I know you weren't in Philly in 2001, but a week and a half or so ago, you and your NBC Sports Philly crew did a great job celebrating the 0-1 conference champion Philadelphia 76ers. There you are with Allen Iverson. Man, what a great team that was, and what a fun broadcast.
Honestly, that was one of the more entertaining and exciting nights I've had in my 17 years here in Philadelphia. Celebrating that team was so much fun. It's such a team that really resonates with so many people here in Philadelphia. The blue collar work ethic. Yes, they had the star in Allen Iverson, but there was a lot of guys that really contributed in that successful run all the way to the NBA Finals. And no, they didn't win it all, but it's a fun team, a hardworking team, and a team that deserved to be celebrated. So it was great. It's great. Those guys, they all talked about seeing the uniforms back out there and the court back out there, and they just had a lot of fun. And it was obviously talking to Allen Iverson and Billy King and George Lynch and Pat Croce. We got to really have a fun walk down memory lane.
Absolutely. Okay, regarding the current Sixers, man, this season is a whole lot better than what we went through last year when they won just 24 games. As we speak, they're 30-23, sixth place in the Eastern Conference. What has been the biggest surprise so far this season?
Joel Embiid. And I don't mean the fact that, he's playing at a high level as much as I mean that he's playing at the high level. Both of those things can be true. Listen, you knew that he was going to be able to come back. You did not know what he was going to look like. In the beginning of the season, when he was still working his way back, you thought, okay, well, this is it. And it was still a very good version of a basketball player, but it wasn't the best version of Joel Embiid. And you thought, okay, well, here's a guy that's going to get you, 16 to 18 points, grab a couple of boards and, be out there and be a physical presence. And the tear that he's been on, certainly since January 1st, has been remarkable.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, you can see it. Since January 1st, he's the fifth leading scorer in the NBA behind guys like Luka Doncic and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Anthony Edwards. He's putting up incredible numbers. He is a force inside and outside, and he's scoring in the low post area and in that 10 to 12-foot area more than we've seen certainly the last couple of years. He's getting up and down the court. And to me, that's been one of the biggest and most pleasant surprises. I knew that he was going to be able to be out there and playing basketball. You just weren't sure what level, and now he's being a 30-point scorer, and it's so much fun to see. It's fun to see the rest of the team enjoy playing with a high-level Joel Embiid, and it's fun to see him enjoying it as well.
Yeah, well, you are a Kentucky alum, of course, and we talked last year about how much you enjoy watching Tyrese Maxey continue his development. Man, he's been terrific, of course, a first-time all-star starter, but he's also leading the league in playing nearly 39 minutes a game. I know he's just 25, but is that a concern maybe about him getting worn down?
Yeah, I think that there is a little bit of that. You worry about how much, you could put on his plate and on his shoulders, so to speak, because of those. I mean, he's clipped back a little bit. He was closer to 40 minutes, so now he's a minute under, but he's clear of anybody else in that spitting distance as far as how many minutes he's playing. His usage rate is extremely high. I know he enjoys that. He wants to be that guy, but it would be great if they could give him just a little bit of help. Unfortunately, when they traded away Jared McCain, you wondered where that help's going to come from. Now you have three really guards in your rotation in VJ Edgecombe and Quentin Grimes. That's pretty much all the guards that they have in their active rotation. Yes, Kyle Lowry is on the team, but he's not a player that you see all that much unless called into service, as we saw with that Trailblazers game. So there is a concern there, especially when you get into April, because that will have a lot of minutes on him at that point, and you want the Sixers to be as healthy and as ready to go when it comes to the playoffs. That's the whole goal. It's always been the goal for them. The regular season is all fine and well, but it's all about the playoffs. So there is a little bit of concern. I'm sure that they're going to pick up somebody, whether it's on the buyout market or some of these contracts that they can sign right now, whether they're 10-day contracts or two-way contracts. So it'll be interesting to see. But I imagine that they're going to pick up a guard to help out and carry some of the load, at least coming off the bench.
You mentioned Jared McCain. A lot of Sixers fans were a bit ticked off about last week's trade of the second-year guard to OKC. We heard Daryl Morey's explanation, how he was hoping to turn the picks into another player, but it didn't pan out. Is that deal, do you think, going to come back to haunt them either, this season or in the future?
Yeah, I'm always a little wary when you're trading with a team like Oklahoma City Thunder because they rarely miss. They've made some excellent moves in their young, existence as an Oklahoma City franchise, and they've stockpiled picks like it's going out of style, and they find a lot of players that have turned out to be very good players. You don't have to go much further to look back on that trade. Not trade, it was a signing of Isaiah Joe, who was a Sixer, and he's turned out to be a really nice player for them. So there is a little bit of concern that it could come back to bite you. I understand that the thought process behind it. You're trying to get something to help right now, and Jared McCain just wasn't performing right now. But I do wonder if you sold maybe a little too early on him, given the fact that he's coming back from a knee injury and the thumb injury that happened right before the season. I mean, that was literally weeks before the season started. So I thought that he was going to be rounding into form. He's a guy that I think has a very high ceiling. The one issue with Jared McCain is his size, his length. He's just not the longest defender out there. He still works very hard on the defensive end. So I think that they thought maybe they could go out and find a longer guard, like a VJ Edgecombe type, to pair with Quentin Grimes and Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. So I hope that it opened their eyes to the need that they have in the offseason. It seemed like it was a move that you could have waited if you needed to, given the fact that you don't have anybody really else helping out on the bench besides Quentin Grimes at the guard position. So yeah, I'm definitely like a TBD on that, but it always makes me wary when you trade with a team that's had such success like the Thunder have.
Well, you mentioned VJ. How good is this rookie already, and what is his upside?
He's so good. And honestly, that is tied to the Jared McCain trade. I think that when VJ Edgecombe burst onto the scene, in October and November, and you thought, wow, I think they thought this kid was going to be good. I don't know that they thought he was going to be this good this early and contributing in the ways. Yes, sometimes it doesn't show up in the box score, but he's always affecting the game. So I think that made, unfortunately, Jared McCain a little bit expendable, or at least a piece that they thought they could turn into something else. But he's the real deal. He works very hard. He's an excellent defender. He's usually tasked with defending some of the better players on the other team. And his three-point shot's good. He's had a couple of games where he's had rough shooting nights, but the thing I really like about VJ Edgecombe is that he still shoots. Yes, he might not hit them all, but you're never going to see him come away, or rarely you're going to see him come away with a 1-for-4 night. He might be 2-for-13, but he's going to get the shots up. And I think speaks to a lot of the confidence he has in his game and what the coaches believe in him as well as his teammates. So I think that his upside is really big.
All right, for the heck of it, let's assume Paul George comes back from suspension in April. Joel Embiid, 85-90% healthy. I'll take that. Can this Sixers team actually make a postseason run? Give me some hope, Amy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you look at the East and what the other teams in the East did at the deadline, and I don't think anybody was blown away. Yes, the Cavaliers signed James Harden, and that's going to help them offensively. There's still only one basketball in Cleveland, and they're two ball-dominant guards. It's worked the first couple of games. James Harden is a tremendous player. He's a top 75 player of all time. I don't know that that's going to I don't look at Cleveland and think, wow, they're automatically in the NBA Finals because of that move. I think the biggest one is going to be the Celtics getting Jason Tatum back. He was activated. That's a problem. They got Nick Vucevic, who is a very good post player for them. That'll be the team that's going to probably make a little noise for me that I wouldn't expect, because they've been kind of hanging out just outside that 1-2 spot. It's been basically the Pistons and the Knicks, and now you're seeing the Celtics come up there and vie for that 2 spot. The Pistons are going away with it, but you don't look at any team and think, wow, if the Sixers put together a good run, they can take down I think they could take down any of the teams that I see above them. If you said, it's true. Obviously, you need a very healthy Joel Embiid, and you need a Paul George in there. He'll come back with 10 games to go. Hopefully that's enough runway to kind of get him back acclimated. It was one of those things when that suspension came down, everybody just shook their heads like, of course, we can't have nice things here in Philadelphia. We're trying to have one nice thing, and that's a Sixers postseason run. But hopefully with 10 games to go, he can come back, mesh himself in. I think they'll probably pick up another player on the buyout market to kind of flesh out that bench. And I could see them absolutely pushing some of the top teams. It's a big game against the Knicks. That'll be a good test. They've took 2 in Madison Square Garden. The Knicks, of course, took 1 here a couple of weeks ago. So this would be the deciding factor. But I think they can hang with anybody. Joel Embiid is averaging 30 points since January 1st. And there's no reason to think that that's not going to continue right now.
Amy, let me get your take on the Eagles. A disappointing end of the 2025 season and postseason for the Birds. It's only February, I know, but how much do the Eagles have to change things up under their new offensive coordinator, Sean Mannion?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be a lot of changes, unfortunately, coming. You saw some changes last year from winning the Super Bowl into this year. And that's what happens when you win. People leave, people get bigger contracts, coaches leave. But I think there's going to have to be a lot of adjustments. You already saw the departure of Jeff Stoutland, which I think is going to be really big. I know they hired a guy that people believe a lot in, the former Broncos offensive lineman. He's been an offensive line coach in Cooper. So it'll be interesting to see how much that changes the dynamic of the offensive line. That was one of the biggest problems or issues with the Eagles last year, was because they didn't have a healthy offensive line. When you have a healthy offensive line, you have a good run game, and the run game, of course, opens up the rest of your offense. I think that was one of the reasons, and I think some of the very conservative play calling was the other reason. So I think there's going to have to be a lot of changes coming forward with the offense. And it'll be interesting to see how they adjust, because they need those guys to get healthy. They need Cam Jurgens to be healthy. They need Landon Dickerson to be healthy. Lane Johnson, is he coming back for a 14th season? All signs point to yes, but these are big question marks along the offensive line, which had been a stalwart and has been a stalwart for the Eagles during their playoff run. I mean, they've made the playoffs for 5 straight years, and the offensive line and their health is one of the biggest reasons. So I think there's a lot of changes coming, not just to personnel, but also to the style. You looked at how teams won in the playoffs, and the Eagles they didn't look like a team that was able to perform in the way that any of the teams did in the playoffs that made for successful runs, whether it was Seattle, the Patriots, you can go down to the Texans. It just wasn't a recipe for success. And I think that they need to take a good look in the mirror. And I'm sure that that's what they're doing right now, because they've got plenty of time, and really kind of adjust, not just tweaks like it was last year. It has to be a full 180 adjustment.
Last thing, Amy, speaking of the Eagles, do you remember how you spent Valentine's Day morning and afternoon a year ago this week?
Up very early, drove into the Wells Fargo Center, now the Xfinity Mobile Arena, and got on the subway up to my spot. And I saw some people at the subway at 8:45 in the morning, and they shared their MD 2020, aka Mad Dog, told me to take it up to the parade and share with the people, which is exactly what I did. I was live. We had our live broadcast. So obviously I was not consuming that, but I did share it after our broadcast. I went out and walked up and down Broad Street and shared it with a bunch of people. So it was a lot of fun. It was a great way to spend a day.
Amy did not drink the Mad Dog 2020
Correct.
While working, and that's her story anyway.
So I'm sticking to it.
Follow Amy Fadool on X and Instagram at Amy Fadool NBCS, and watch her, of course, on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Hard to believe you've been there 17 years, Amy. That is just amazing. Thank you for this sequel.
Thank you so much, Chet. Appreciate you.